Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the LGBT show sponsored by the Civil Rights Agenda. Civil Rights Agenda is at 2129 Northwestern Avenue in Chicago. If you have any questions or problems, you can call them at 773-235-8852. Okay? So you want to take the number down, go right ahead. They're 2129 Northwestern Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. Okay, couple of things that I came up with that I wanted to talk about today or tonight or this evening or afternoon, whatever time it is in your area. There was an interesting letter that was sent to Ask Amy in the Chicago Tribune, and this was Monday, September 20th. And it said, the person that wrote in said, "My child came out to my husband and me as non-binary using they and them pronouns and a new name. I'm struggling to change the way I address them, but I am honestly trying. My husband is not," wait a minute, this makes no sense. My husband is not, oh, okay. The husband is not trying. My husband flat out told them that he doesn't care if they identify differently. He will continue to use their birth name and pronouns. My husband says he doesn't care what other people call them and that there is no negative connotation meant on his part, but I know it is and will be taken that way. I told him that my child may refuse to interact with him if he refuses to address them in the new ways, but he says he doesn't care. Okay, so that's basically the setup. And we have a call-in number. It's 312-738-1060. Looks like 1060. It's on the bottom of the screen. So if you have any comments or want to give us your opinion on this, by all means, call at 312-738-1060. Now, Amy says, "Dear Torn, I'm going to dodge the direct question regarding whether you should leave your husband, because that is kind of what this lady is getting at, is she wants to know if she should leave her husband if he wasn't going to be nice to the kid. Because it's too binary, and marriage, like gender and sexuality, occurs across the spectrum. However, you say that he is not rejecting your child, he's just not accepting the child. You see his response as a partial acceptance, but not a complete acceptance. I see it differently when someone says, 'This is who I am, this is my name, this is how I identify,' and another person responds, 'No, it isn't.' That basically is the definition of rejection. And so in her idea that this child is being rejected by his father, and she goes on to say, many people in your generation would freely admit to struggling to adjusting to non-binary gender and they and them pronouns. I think it's natural to be thrown off when a child who you have raised with one identity announces such a change. But accepting someone's right to define their own personhood and identity is what it means to love someone. So while addressing your child differently might be hard at first, accepting them is what's supposed to be easy. Your reaction, 'I'm struggling, but I'm working on it,' is an authentic statement, recognizing your child's humanity. Your child's identity is not hurting anyone. Your husband's response is. he's hurting the child. And probably he's not treating this child's friends with any respect either. And that's the whole point of the whole situation, is the father is disrespecting the child. And probably not only privately, but publicly, and especially amongst his other friends, which kind of sets the child up as a, how does he default? How does he respond to this going out? Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, obviously he doesn't, but then that just encourages the differences, and it encourages the distance between them. If it were me, I would say, okay, Dad is wrong. You, the mother, are trying to approach this in a sensible manner. But the bottom line is Dad's disrespecting his son, and he's disrespecting the entire LGBTQIA community. To me, he's best not saying anything if he can't recognize the fact that his son is actually trying to fit in with a group that he feels emotionally where he should be. Yeah, and obviously these folks are not understanding the fact that LGBT is a neurological phenomenon that most people don't know or understand. I think most of you do, that it's the brain that in the end identifies who you feel you are, okay? Irrespective of your physiological makeup, it's still the brain that, through scientific research, is proved to alter its own identity, and the brain being the mastermind, so to speak, of who we are, then, of course, that change or that neurological phenomena is going to take over, whether people like it or not. But if you have any ideas or comments, or if you want to tell me what you think about this whole story, the mom's bottom line at the very end, she says, "Should I leave him?" Her husband, of course. I don't see in here anywhere where she has tried, or the son either, to get the dad to talk to a therapist and try and get in his own mind, what is going on. And that's so true of the rest of it's very rarely discussed anywhere, whether it be the paper or whether it be on TV or any place else. Very rarely discussed exactly how you end up as identifying as LGBTQIA or A. And that is what I would like to see a lot more of happen. And that's kind of what I try to do here, is I try to invoke, especially new folks coming out, to find a therapist, talk about this, and even, get their wife, get their husband, get their mom, dad, whoever, involved in letting the therapist explain how this all happens. Get the science out there behind it, because it's missing. There's very little science published about how and why this happens. And if that would happen, but that's just my idea, but that's why I have this show, because I want to talk about these kinds of things. Another thing that came up, so feel free to call. It's 312-738-1060. I certainly like to hear other people's opinions, because this is exactly what's happening out there, is why so many kids, 60% of the kids of the LGBTs are either committing suicide or homeless, which is sad, okay? There was an opinion in Wednesday's Chicago Tribune, October 13th. I don't normally watch Dave Chappelle. He's supposed to be a stand-up comedian. I don't watch him, and not for any particular reason. I just find other things more interesting. But Dave does seem to have a problem with putting down people or new concepts and that sort of thing. So Clarence Page wrote a story or an opinion on Dave Chappelle. It starts out saying Dave Chappelle is in hot water again, testing the boundaries of public sensibility so you don't have to. Well, he has a show called The Closer, and on this particular one, he criticizes particularly the LGBTQ community. For him, that means plunging boldly into three areas that we tend to be the most nervous about discussing in mixed company or in front of the children, and that is sex, race, and politics. For example, and many of you already know about this because I've reported on it, he defends the Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who put out a lot of statements saying that LGBTs are not what they think they are. I don't think she's a doctor. I don't think she's a psychiatrist. I don't think she has any right to tell anybody what she thinks they should be or not be. But that seems to be her. But the problem is that Dave Chappelle, as a stand-up comic, uses that material to put down LGBTs. And I think that's totally wrong. He stated in his offerings that gender is a fact. Well, there's a lot of things that are fact that aren't totally known as far as the human body is concerned, or the human mind. And I don't think he's a scientist. I don't think he's a doctor. I don't think he has any idea, as we talked about the last one, what causes the mind to accept a different identity. He's off base, in my opinion. He did say, he did try to help redeem himself as he began to close the show with memories of a friend and fellow comedian, Daphne Dorman, a transgender woman he'd struck up a friendship with and opened a conversation about identity. Sadly, Chappelle concluded the story by recounting how Dorman took her own life in 2019 shortly after defending him online. I don't know what the trans community did for her, which is none of his business since he putting down the community anyway. Okay? And that's what kind of goads me a lot, is that these people, some people like Chappelle, and like J.K. Rowling, seem to think that their stage gives them the right to go in and judge people. And that, in my estimation, is totally wrong. Totally wrong. Especially to make it a subject of some purported humorous commentary. It's not humorous. It's not scientific. He doesn't know what it's all about. So who is he to tell other people what is right or wrong about being LGBT? He doesn't. He doesn't. I know there was a heavy reaction by the LGBT community when Rawlings came out with a lot of her garbage about LGBTs and issues. And so what I'm saying, I guess, is I think this Dave Chappelle should kind of be boycotted for the same reason. I don't care who he is or what his race is or ethnicity is. He has no license to tell other people who and what they are or should not be. And that's pretty much what Ask Amy said. You know, she's not an expert on it, but at least she is educated enough through her own experiences or her conversations with other people to at least, further the thought that LGBTQs are a neurological phenomenon and that we can't put people down when they decide that there is something different between them and another person. It's not another person's right to judge another person. That's just my opinion. If there's anybody out there that wants to call and tell me I'm wrong, you're more than welcome to do so. But actually, I think that people need to be a little bit more considerate, and you may not like who or what they say or who they are, whatever, but that's not up to you as an individual, even me as an individual, to tell somebody that what they think they are is wrong, because it's not up to me. That's between them and God and the scientists who decide what is right and wrong. Well, I'm out of time, quite frankly, and just let everybody know my show will always be at 6 o'clock. There was some confusion there, and I hope anybody that's tuning in right now, I'm sorry, but 6:30 is not my time slot, as I found out tonight. 6 o'clock is. There's somebody else that has the 6:30 time slot. And what I will do next time, I'll be here at 6 o'clock, I'm going to open with information on telling you how to jump into the conversation via Zoom, okay? Some of you have worked with it, so some of you probably have a fair idea what the basics are, and can go from there with it. But yeah, we can provide a link for you to go on Zoom and get involved in the discussion. So, until next month, same time, same bat station, 6:30 p.m., this is Jackie McKethan signing off and hoping that you will join us next month, third Friday of the month, 6 o'clock. And by the way, all our shows are saved on YouTube, and you go to YouTube and then look basically for the same thing that I keep putting out there. That you look on YouTube for the LGBT show. Okay? So until next month, goodbye. Thank you for watching, and we'll get this straightened out because I want y'all to get involved. Okay? All right.